Not 4, but 3 points. But just take the 3 points and run. Because my God, that was a painful watch. That was a painful, painful watch. And going into the game, in my pre-reaction, I thought, I was feeling more optimistic. I thought maybe three. I think I said 3-1. Oh my goodness, boy was I! I was not expecting the game to go like this. Like, I know it's Everton away. Everton away is never easy, but I think as a fan watching that game, you could see that the crowd is just so engaged. Like every single time we get the ball, you hear booing. 5 minutes, 10 minutes before the team sheet comes out, we find out that Martinez is injured. From that one news alone, my confidence went from being optimistic to like, sure, we might actually might drop points here. And if that's a game that doesn't show how important Martinez is in that back line, I don't know what other game will. Yes, West Ham did not go our way, but just having someone in that back line with that amount of confidence makes you feel safe. Especially with Martinez on the ball, he's able to make those line breaking passes. He can defend. He just provides that sense of security in the back line, and today I really feel like we're missing that. And I'm gonna talk about the game, first half, second half. I thought not completely different games, but it's easy to talk about in terms of our performance levels. First half was very pinned down. It was not we were not playing great, and every single time we had the ball, it just felt like we were pinned into our own half, or not even our own half, just our own third. Everton did a very good job of pressing us and keeping that compact defensive shape, and they were making sure that we do not break the lines, play through the pockets, and not doing what we do best. And credit to them, right? But when you're watching that game, you're just getting more nervous because now you're like, shoot, how are we gonna win? And that first half was not exactly how I thought it was gonna be. And Everton were letting us keep the ball more. They were sitting back, even though I said it was gonna be an even possession game, which end of the game it was an even possession game. I think it was like 47-53, where we had 53% possession. It was just a nerve wracking first half where you're thinking we're gonna keep the ball, and then one counter attack and boom, we're losing, right? And there were a lot of players in that first half. I just didn't think we're up to par. One, Casemiro. I did not think he had a great game today. I thought he was pretty poor. Defensively, he was still good. He was still tracking down his players. He was still, covering the runs. He was making sure that all his interceptions were crucial. But it's just Casemiro on the ball today, I think, was very poor. And we need someone who could progress the ball well, especially if Martinez is injured. And Lenior was in for Martinez, but is he the best pass maker in terms of breaking the lines? No, he's not. So we had to really depend on Kobe Menu and Casemiro for that. But Kobe Menu, once again, I feel like he got kind of shattered out of the game. But he wasn't necessarily poor, but he wasn't doing what he does best. And with Casemiro, I think there was just more of a standout bad performance because every single pass he made, it was not every single, but most of the passes he made were very sloppy. If it wasn't the simple passes, if it was trying to move the ball forward or play a nice through ball, it just didn't work out the way he wanted to. And I think for me personally, him in the first half, I was very like, please, you have to lock in, you have to, you know, click in and focus up, for the love of God, please. That's genuinely how it felt like. But at least defensively, he was still strong. He still held on. Another player that I did not think did much, not even in the first half, but I just think entirely in the game, was Bruno Fernandes. I think today was just not his game. He was not in his A game today. It didn't feel like he was making those plays. Yeah, he did give a couple of overhead passes, like over the player passes, but otherwise, like, every single time he looked like he was trying to do something, it just didn't work out and ended up with him losing the ball. And it was a very frustrating game for him. So I think in terms of when you think about expectations, I think those two players pretty much not let me down, but they weren't up to their standards. I know they can do better. So there's that. Yeah, first half, honestly, as a neutral fan, I would have felt pretty bored watching that first half. Like even for me, it was just not this was not the best football we played under Michael Carrick. Maybe you can argue West Ham was worse. Maybe you can. I personally feel like this one was way worse. But Everton away, not easy. Especially with the crowd. That definitely like it was even nerve wracking for me. Like imagine how it must have been for the actual players. But you know, first half, I was thinking, okay, th- hopefully we can forget about that 45 minutes and just start fresh. Please start fresh. Please start playing football the way you guys do. You guys had 2 weeks off. Just click it. That was all I asked. And then, for what? Everton. I don't think they had a shot on target for the first half. I don't know. Like, I think maybe they might have one shot on target. But when they opened the second half, they already looked like they were about to score. They were already getting a lot of momentum. They were attacking. They weren't sitting back. They were trying to actually grab a goal. And obviously, I'm not saying that's how they normally play, but it's just when you look at the 45 minutes of performance, you don't get much confidence as a fan thinking you're gonna walk away with 3 points. But when they open the half like that, you're really thinking, damn, okay, maybe this is it. Maybe we might actually be dropping points here. But we did survive that little wave of, you know, having to sit back and defend. I think Harry Maguire today did amazing. And another player I really want to talk about that there's two players. I think one is very obvious, but I'm going to talk about someone who wasn't really spoke about often a lot in terms of this game was Diogo Dalot. I think Dalot today overall, even in the first half, I was like, how is Dalot the only player that looks like he wants to do something? He was making good runs. He was progressing the ball really well. He hugged the right hand side. He even almost had a good scoring opportunity where there was a moment where he was in the box and he tried to pass the ball to Ahmad when the ball was kind of in the middle of the air. But I was like, yo, why don't you just rip a shot? But like for Dalot, he had a good game, and honestly, he's been pretty solid under Michael Carrick since the Man City game. But I think this was one of his more standout performances. But I also do think purely because everyone else was pretty poor. Um, and yeah, I think this was a pretty good game for him. So, starts the next game, I wouldn't be surprised. If you're thinking about Mbuemo and Cunha today, Mbuemo, I don't think there was much output. And when I say output, I don't obviously not in terms of goals, but I mean in terms of making it look like he's going to make something happen. Attacking the goal, ripping shots off, getting close. He had a couple shots here and there, but I don't know. It's just when you look at Mbuemo and you know what he can do, it just didn't feel like he was on his game today either. Cunha, I think Cunha off the ball was so much better than Cunha on the ball today. The amount of times I saw him have the ball and just kind of carry it to the middle and then play it back to Dalot, I was like, dude, come on, we have to progress the ball here. Like, we can't keep going back. But Cunha off the ball, the amount of recoveries he's made and his defensive duties, he took care of them really well today. The amount of times he recovered and trying to make sure that he prevented a cross from going inside the box, or even if he has to kick it away for a corner. In terms of in terms of his defensive duties, he definitely met those today. And in terms of that, I think he had a pretty not solid game, but I would not categorize him with the players who had a bad game. And with Sesko's substitution, I think that Carrick definitely saw a mistake in what he did with the West Ham game in terms of bringing Sesko on later than he should have. And I think today, I was expecting maybe like a 70th minute sub, 75th maybe. But he got brought in at what, like 58 to 60 minutes, something like that. And I felt like that was a good improvement from him in terms of making, like now he's able to see the impact Sesko was able to make. And what happened? He scored the only goal that was scored today in the game. And, for that poor 45 minutes, that goal was really nice to watch. What more can you want? Vintage Man United counter-attack. Cunha long ball. Embuemo running for it, holding up for Sesko to come. Sesko with insane speed catches up and then places it perfectly in the bottom right. Cunha to Embuemo to Sesko. I don't think that's probably one of like the best link ups you can see in terms of a build up to lead to a goal. And that was honestly amazing to watch. That was, as a fan, it was a really nice goal. And does it make up for the whole performance? No, not really. But did we walk away with the 3 points? Yes, we did. And I think a lot of people who follow the Prem can definitely agree that, if the team you're supporting is not having an amazing game, they're not playing, appealing football, make sure you walk away with the 3 points. That is the bare minimum. And we definitely, we didn't succeed the bare minimum, but we did the bare minimum. And I'm happy with it. Obviously, would I like to see more? Yes. But once again, considering the fact that Martinez all of a sudden got injured, hopefully he's back for the next game. And the fact that it is Everton away, especially when they have David Moyes managing them, he knows how to play against Man United. So you always think he has something in his back pocket. And considering all those things, 1-0, we'll take those. We 100% take them. And now the one player that I do want to talk about, big standout player in my eyes, Sonny Lemons. And today, I think this game will show everyone how important he is to our squad. In the summer, when we did sign him, I think it was like 2 days. It was either deadline day or like a day before deadline. I don't remember, but it was very close to deadline day. And, a lot of people were asking me, they're like, why would you want a goalkeeper over a midfielder when you know your midfield is so weak? And yeah, I do agree that our midfield is weak. But getting a goalkeeper, honestly, I think for me, that was more of a crucial signing than a midfielder. Because if you look at our past 2 seasons, whenever we concede goals, especially if it's more than one, you can definitely guarantee that one of those goals comes from a goalkeeping mistake. How many of those can we really survive? And Sonny Lemons has actually changed a lot of Man United fans' lives. And he's nothing crazy. He does make good saves. Yes, he made like a crazy save today when I think it's Michael Keane. When Michael Keane ripped a shot, that was a really good save. And if you think about Pickford, when we played Everton last, he was on some other stuff. He was making a lot of crazy saves, but Lemons wasn't like that today. But the reason he's getting the same praise that Jordan Pickford did that game is because he did a lot of the simple stuff correctly. He was claiming crosses. He was punching out any corner kicks that came his way, and he made sure that the ball that he punched were going into areas where there's no player that can get a rebound, right? And he did not only kind of control the box, he dictated it. He made sure that nothing was coming through his way. He was doing everything right. He was in control of that box, and it was really good to see that. Because, like I said, everyone was very skeptical of the signing. The fact that is another Man United goalkeeper really going to change how they work as a team? Of course, because if you can have someone who does the basics and not let in silly goals, that is all we need right now. That is all we need. And he is still very young. There's very the expectations for him obviously coming in weren't that high. So when everyone sees him doing this great, of course he's gonna be getting the praise. But he's only gonna be getting better from here. And I'm really hoping that Lemons has I'm really hoping that we get to see more of him just doing the simple stuff and just proving to people why it is important for us to have this kind of goalkeeper. And yeah, like I said, not an amazing performance, not an amazing game to watch as a fan, but we will take the 3 points and run. And now we are in a pretty good position in the top four race. 3 points clear of Liverpool and Chelsea, 3 points behind Aston Villa. If I don't think the Villa is going to lose against Wolves. I'm pretty sure they're playing them next. But if they do, and if we manage to beat Palace, we could potentially jump to third. And There was I forgot what it's called, but there was a percentage tracker that said we had, I think it was a 15 or 13% chance that we finish in top four. That was before the Everton game, but now after the Everton game, our chances have now jumped to 52%, and we need to keep going. We need to just keep running away with wins. Like, we don't have an easy fixture of games coming up. I think we have, after Palace, we have Newcastle, St James Park. That's not going to be easy. Aston Villa at home, sure, but still Aston Villa. We need to be on our A game. And in that period, I don't know if Chelsea's the next game, but after Aston Villa, maybe within the next 3 games, we will play Chelsea. So not an easy game again. We play Bournemouth in that period as well. We just have to keep, even, I want the performances to be good. I want us to be playing good football, but if you're not, at least walk with the 3 points, and that is all I care about.